To me, a boat is like a freedom tool, granting you access to an entire new world out on the water. And exploring new places is a big part of the adventure. But only exploring above the water means you're kind of missing out on another amazing world below. With some help from our friends Chris and Lorraine, we thought we'd introduce Drew to the underwater world and show him a few boats that are no longer floating. Morning, Drew.
Morning, Johnny boy.
So, ready for your big adventure?
Oh boy, I'm excited.
Sweet. Let's do it.
Nice wheels.
Pretty cool, eh? This is the new 2020 F250 Tremor, and it's got the brand new super torquey V8 in it.
Nice.
So, you ever been scuba diving?
I have not, but I've always been a little curious. I guess the closest I've been to anything really under the water was the subwing last season.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, it is super cool, and some of the best dive sites are actually only accessible by boat.
Awesome. So what do I need to do?
Well, we're gonna go visit Chris and Lorraine's pool at Simcoe Diving. He's gonna suit you up and give you an orientation course.
Let's do it. Beauty before age.
Morning, Chris. Drew.
Nice to
Chris,
meet you.
nice to meet you.
Good to see
John,
you,
nice
Mel.
to see you again, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Welcome to
going?
Simcoe Diving, guys.
Thank you so much
for
entertaining us on this little adventure.
You're welcome. Our pleasure.
Drew's been all over the place. He's been water skiing and barefooting and driving boats for a long time, but he's never really been underwater except for about 2 minutes on a subwing, holding his breath. So I thought, I want to introduce him to the wonderful world of scuba.
Nice, nice. Well, welcome. We're excited to get you underwater.
And one of the cool things about freshwater wrecks is because the water is typically cold, they actually last a long time. So we can see wrecks that are a lot older than some of the ones you'd see in salt.
There's over 5,000 wrecks estimated in the Great Lakes, and only about maybe 1,000 to 1,200 have been discovered over the years. So there's lots to be found.
I've spent a lot of time on top of the water. I've always been a little creeped out by what's under the water. So my first question, how long have you guys been doing this for, and is it safe?
Well, Drew, we've been in business now in our 9th year, and we've been introducing hundreds of people to scuba diving since we started. So one of the first things we need to do to get you prepared for your experience is to get you fitted for some equipment. So we're gonna start with a mask and a snorkel. Nice,
like that?
Yeah, that looks like a good fit to me. I like
All right.
that, yep. Starting to look like a scuba diver, I like it.
I feel like a scuba diver.
Now we fit Drew with a wetsuit, booties, fins, a weight belt, BCD, regulator, a hood, gloves, and tank. Lots of gear.
At this point, sweating inside Simcoe Diving, I'm starting to wonder what I'm getting myself into. I gotta get this stuff off. I am sweating.
One of the books that we often refer to when we're looking at wrecks in the Great Lakes is called The Great Lakes Diving Guide by author Chris Cole. In the Hope Island area, the Marquette you can see here, real nice wooden hull to swim around. It's a 3-masted schooner that hit rocks, and it's in about 35 feet of water. It's a much nicer wreck to dive. Most of the hull is intact. In fact, it's one of the most intact wooden shipwrecks in the Great Lakes. So I'm really looking forward to getting Drew on that. He's gonna really enjoy it.
So what kind of boat are we looking for scuba diving?
Well, ideally one that's got a decent platform to jump in and out of the water, but even more important, one that's got a really good reboarding ladder. In this case, Hope Island is a bit exposed, and we could run into a bit of a swell. We wanted something that could easily handle a meter, but also get us to Hope in about an hour. It's about 25 miles from the marina, which will take over 3 hours putting along in the old President at 6 knots. But lucky for us, our friends at Pride have a brand new Robalo they are willing to lend us.
Aha, that's what I'm talking about. Sweet boat.
Cool, eh? This little Robalo should have no problem getting us to Hope fast, and should be able to take anything Georgian Bay can throw at it.
So no excuses.
No excuses. To film this little story is gonna take a few days. Tough life, right? The Robalo is perfect for bombing the dive sites and exploring Hope Island. But 6 people cannot stay on it overnight, not to mention the gear we are bringing. Nope, we're gonna need a small flotilla for this one. But this little Robalo will allow us easy access to multiple dive sites and even return to the marina if necessary.
All right, what's next?
Well, next up is your orientation. You know, scuba diving is extremely safe as long as you have the right gear and get the right training. So, you're gonna start in the pool while I prep the boat for the run to Hope tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Doing the orientation in the pool was a total relief. It's not that deep, and Chris can see if I run into any trouble. He started with the Discover Scuba materials and some neck stretches that'll help me with equalization before going back over all that gear. There's a lot you gotta know. After signing my life away, it was time to gear up. Wetsuit and all, even in the pool, so we can match our buoyancy with the open water to figure out how much lead to carry before we go into the deep. With the wetsuit, weights, BCD, tank, mask, and snorkel on, I think we're ready. Nope. Fins. Breathing underwater is an entirely new experience, with everything to remember, inflating and deflating the BCD, gauges, clearing the mask. It's easy to get overwhelmed. Thankfully, Chris was super calm and patient, which really helped me keep my blood pressure under control.
Yeah, I put all the stuff on and I get in and I just forgot how to swim.
So when it came time to take my first breath underwater, I didn't pee in the suit, I swear.
How did you feel about your experience today?
Good. Taking the first breaths was a lot more natural than I would have expected. It's such a cool feeling being down there. I can stay down there basically all day.
It's definitely a different feeling. It's something you got to get used to. You did great. Pretty much mastered the skills. So that's what we want to see. You all set to head out to the wrecks?
I am. I think it's probably going to be a different game with the real thing, but I'm excited. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome, buddy.
Yeah.
Great job.
That was great.
All right.
Since we have a ton of camera gear, 6 sets of scuba gear, and a dozen extra tanks, Chris, Lorraine, Sherry, and I will take our slow boats out tonight to anchor overnight, allowing us to use them as support vessels for the next couple of days. Part of me wishes we had time to run the Robalo out ourselves, but using the big boats to carry all the gear and film from is a big help. Victoria Harbor to Hope Island is about 22 miles or 34 kilometers. In the old days, we had a 30-foot express. We would drive about 30 to 32 miles an hour everywhere, and we'd be there in less than an hour. Now, with our bigger boat, we drive a lot slower, 6-7 knots, so it's going to take about 3 hours to get to Hope Island. What's really cool for us is before, we used to race everywhere and see nothing. Now, we drive really slow and we see a lot more. We have time to have a little bite to eat on the way, we have time to grab a drink of water, and really just enjoy the ride. On the way to Hope, we passed Giant's Tomb, an amazing spot to anchor with a beach almost 4 kilometers long. In the distance, we can see Christian Island and Beckwith, Hope's 2 neighbors to the south. We pull into Sandy Bay on Hope Island and drop the anchor just as the sun passes the tree line. Now that is a sunset. Next up, Drew makes an early morning run in the Robalo.
It's a beautiful morning out here on Georgian Bay. We're up early enough that it's just a few fishermen and us out here. The wind has picked up a bit, but this Robalo is so smooth in big water. That's what it was built for. At about 30 knots, we should be 45 minutes or so out to Hope Island with following seas. It's a great day for boating. It's going to be a great day for diving.
After an awesome night on anchor, we awake to a stellar sunny day in Sandy Bay. This uninhabited island was named by Henry Bayfield after he surveyed it in the 19th century, and today remains part of the Beausoleil First Nation. With Drew's rapid arrival, we gear up and head east for the Marquette. Residual swell from overnight easterly winds bounce the dinghy around some, but it's a smooth ride in the Robalo. Chris believes there might be a mooring line anchored to the bottom. Sure enough, we find a floating bottle with 30 feet of line hanging right off it. This will be much easier than dropping an anchor, especially when we don't know exactly where the wreck is. Gearing up in a 12-foot dinghy in a 2-foot swell is, well, fun. With everyone in the water, we review hand signals and prep for descent. Following a mooring line to the bottom helps keep the group together. This one should have a second line on the bottom that will guide us right to the wreck.
I won't lie, I was nervous descending that line into the darkness. Thankfully, a veteran like Chris was there to keep me calm and help me out when I had trouble equalizing my ears, and I gave the okay to keep going. Slow and steady is the way to go. Before long, I felt my fins touch the sandy bottom of Georgian Bay.
With everyone okay at 30 feet, we follow the second line right to the Marquette. Viz was okay, maybe 25 feet, but the gloom adds to the spooky feeling when you start to see shadows ahead.
When that first piece came into view, I got a real case of the shivers. And then the barnacle bow of the ship appeared out of the abyss like the Flying Dutchman emerging from the fog. And that was enough to almost make me wet my suit.
Accidentally discovered while searching for another wreck, the wreck of the Marquette was originally called the Imperial, a sunken schooner that has yet to be discovered. But when the dimensions didn't match the Imperial, the wreck became known as the Hope Island Mystery Wreck, before finally being identified as the Marquette. Damaged in a storm, the captain dropped anchor on the lee side of Hope Island to attempt repairs. But a sudden wind shift caught the crew off guard, finishing off the job the storm had begun, sending the schooner to the sandy bottom. One of the coolest features on the Marquette are the 2 anchors and chains that stretch out from the bow. That is some heavy-duty chain.
The whole experience was almost overwhelming, but I quickly started to settle in and drink it all in. The wreck was eerily beautiful and spooky at the same time. I knew it was going to be fairly big, but swimming alongside it felt so ominous. Touching it gave me the heebie-jeebies. I can't imagine getting caught out here and having to abandon a sinking ship. The transom looks like it was completely torn off. There are broken timbers strewn all around, and some even have canvas remnants still clinging to them. I can't believe how much of this wooden wreck is still intact just below our hulls.
With a solid tour of the Marquette, it was time to head back to the surface. No matter how often I do this, it still gets my heart pumping.
Woo! Wow! Yeah, nice job. Yeah, that was incredible. Yeah, nice. That was probably the coolest thing I've ever done. Nice. When that wreck first came into view, I was so spooked out. Kind of cool. At one point, I just sat there. I was like, I'm just standing in the middle of a shipwreck.
But wasn't that awesome?
That was incredible.
Did you enjoy that?
Oh, it was amazing. Going down the line, it's like you're going into outer space.
Yeah, that was an excellent dive. You did really, really awesome.
Dude,
for your first dive.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, man. That was so cool. I can't wait to do it again.
Nice, good work.
With Drew's first dive in the books, lunch in our bellies, and the wind calming right off, we thought we'd go for a boat ride all the way around Hope Island and maybe find another wreck or 2. This time we headed west, and as the wind fell off, the water calmed right down. What an epic day for a boat ride. As we round the west side, we start to see larger boulder formations. Curious just how close we could get, Drew volunteered to hop off the boat and climb up on top of one just for perspective. These massive rocks are littered all around Hope Island, some as far as a mile offshore. As we swing around to the north side, we find even bigger boulders. Just imagine getting blown off course in a gale in November. And that's exactly what happened to the Michigan. Originally, a railroad car ferry built in Bay City, Michigan in 1890. She was converted to a barge in 1924 with the removal of her engines. With help from Navionics, we find this wreck quite easily. The Michigan is shallow enough to snorkel, but to get a good look, you need to stay down for a bit, and this is exactly why we put the tanks back on. The 297-foot-long Michigan was engaged in removing the grain from the stranded Riverton at Hope Island in November 1943, when she was blown into the shallows by high winds. Today, the Michigan lies in 15 to 20 feet of water with much machinery and metalwork still intact. The key features of the Michigan are the massive lifting winches and gears on her collapsed deck.
After diving the Marquette, everything about the Michigan felt like a cinch, and I really made sure that now that I had a major dive under my belt, I was going to enjoy this one as much as possible. The water on the west side of Hope Island is crystal clear, so you can see the wreck right from the surface. That made it much less intimidating. I was amazed by how well intact the steel and the gears were under the water, and by how many fish have made this wreck their home. The Michigan felt like diving in the Caribbean, aside from the chilly water, of course. I must say, I'm starting to like this scuba diving thing. Makes me think, I'm gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey! That was so cool, like all those gears and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was a big boat, eh?
Oh yeah, what's really crazy is just how the rocks can just rip to shreds that
just
steel.
imagine the power over the years of Mother Nature
Yep.
to rip that all in pieces like that.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So,
At this shallow depth, if you're easy on your air supply, it is possible to explore for over 2 hours. With the water temp in the 70s and the viz so good, we just didn't want to stop. There are dozens of dark crevices to check out and a ton of very friendly fish. Once back aboard the Robalo, we decided to finish circumnavigating the island in hope that we might find a third wreck, the Lotte Wolf, off the northeast corner. Resting in just over 20 feet of water this season, she was a bit more difficult to find. This 126-foot, three-masted schooner was built in 1866, but was lost in October 1891 just northeast of the Hope Island Lighthouse. Hope Island offers an excellent example of the diversity of wrecks available to dive in our very own Great Lakes, with well over 1,000 shipwrecks discovered to date. Now imagine this, there are likely thousands more yet undiscovered. All you need is a little training, a bit of gear, and of course, a boat.